Hello everyone. Once again I welcome you all in the online edu classes video lecture series by Kailash Kumar sir. Dear children, finally today we are going to cover the remaining part of the chapter number 7, A Day in the Greens. So, before proceeding ahead, let's have a brief recapture of the previous video. As we studied that Heidi was taken up to the mountains by her aunt Dite to stay with her grandfather. Then Heidi's aunt returns and goes to Frankfurt for her new job. Heidi, after reaching her grandfather's home, goes to sleep as she was extremely sad and tired, so she slept early in the evening. After having a sound sleep, she got up early in the morning and very soon she realized what had happened to her the previous day. Now, keeping aside her past memories about her old caretaker Ursula and her restrictions, Heidi began her new life in mountains along with her new friend Peter, the shepherd boy. Grandfather asked her to have a proper bath and gave a piece of bread and a slice of cheese to Peter for their dinner in the pastures. Grandfather also kept a little bowl for keeping goat's milk for Heidi for her dinner. Next, they both climbed up the mountains happily. The sky was deep blue with no clouds, and the entire valley was bright and clear in the sunlight. Soon after reaching the pasture, Heidi, without wasting any single moment, she began exploring the beautiful and colorful green mountainside. She was filled with extreme joy and ran from side to side. The beautiful flowers like red primroses, blue gentian, and many more. Amidst attractive flowers, she was so delighted and lost in her own happiness that she even forgot about Peter and the goats and finds herself far away behind a little mound from where she was not visible to Peter. So, children, let's continue what happened after that. Picking whole bunches of them to take home with her, she put them all into her little apron. So she was picking the beautiful flowers, the red primroses, the blue gentian, and many more flowers, and she was collecting them and keeping in her little apron. Apron is an outer garment, outer protective garment that covers primarily the front part of the body. As you can see in the picture, Heidi is wearing that apron just above her waist. So she collected the flowers and kept the flowers in her apron. Peter, whose round eyes could only move about slowly, had a hard time looking out for her. Now, Peter was worried that where the girl Heidi has gone, and he was looking for her here and there. The goats were even worse, and only by shouting and whistling, especially by swinging his rod, could he drive them together. And the worst condition was of the goats because they were all spread in the grasslands and grazing on their own way. So, to make them assemble in a particular place, along with shouting, he also used his stick to drive them. Heidi, where are you now? He called quite angrily. Means this boy Peter, he called angrily, he shouted angrily, Heidi, where are you now? Now the reply came from Heidi's side. Here, it sounded from somewhere. So, somewhere in the mountains, the sound came that here I am. Peter could not see her, for she was sitting on the ground behind a little mound, which was covered with fragrant flowers. So, when Peter turned that side from where the voice came, Peter was not able to see her because she was sitting just behind a little mound which was covered with fragrant flowers. Fragrant means the pleasant, sweet smell which generally comes from flowers. The whole air was filled with their perfume, and the child drew it in long breaths. And the whole air, the entire atmosphere, the whole area was filled with the ambience, with the pleasant smell of the flowers, and Heidi was inhaling them in her breaths. Follow me now, Peter called out. Now Peter ordered her, now you should follow me. Grandfather has told me to look out for you, and you must not fall over the rocks. Peter is telling Heidi that grandfather has given me responsibility to look out for you, and you should not fall over the rocks. Therefore, you should follow me. Where are the goats? Asked Heidi without even stirring. Now, as Heidi was busy uh, in the among the flowers, the beautiful flowers, in collecting them, so she did not even care about the Peter and also about the goats. So she is asking now, where are the goats? Without turning her head. Way up there, and we have still far to go. If you come quickly, we may see the eagle there and hear him shriek. So, what Peter is telling, way up there we have to go, means we have to go far away from that place, because the goats, while grazing, they have moved to that far place. If you come quickly, if you come this place quickly, then we may go and assemble the goats. As you can see that there is an eagle, and the eagle is shrieking. Maybe that the goats can be in danger, and eagle may attack or pounce upon any of the goats, so it will be a dangerous situation for them. That tempted Heidi, and she came running to Peter with her apron full of flowers. So this attracted Heidi's attention, and she came running to the place where Peter was there with her apron full of flowers, and her apron was full of flowers, beautiful flowers. As you can see in the picture, Heidi has collected many various kinds of flowers there. Steering means turning the head to look for something. You have enough now, he declared. Now Peter told her that you have collected enough flowers now. If you pick them all today, there won't be left any for tomorrow. So he is also telling her that if you pick all the flowers today, then no flowers will be left for tomorrow. Heidi admitted that she had her apron already full. From now on, she stayed on Peter's side. Heidi is telling that she has collected almost many flowers, and her apron is totally filled. No vacant space is there for any flower. And now she is following Peter wherever Peter is going or he wants to go. She follows him. The goats, scenting the pungent herbs, also hurried up without delay. The goats, they were smelling the smell. That pungent means having a sharp taste or smell. So the goats, they were smelling of that particular kind of smell of the herbs, because they all have eaten and chewed them. So they all hurried up without delay. Peter generally took his quarters for the day at the foot of a high cliff which seemed to reach far up into the sky. So Peter generally took all the things, all the quarters of the day. Quarters of the day means the things which he had brought for their dinner and the other things at the foot of a high cliff. Cliff is a high area of land with a very steep side, especially one next to the sea. So overhanging rocks on one side made it dangerous. So grandfather was wise to warn Peter. So the place where they were sitting, as you can see in the first picture also and in the second as well. In the first picture, high up the top mountain, that is called a cliff. And in the second picture, they both are sitting across a cliff. So it was overhanging rocks from one side, and it was very dangerous place, so they both were not safe there. That's why Peter thought that it was a wise decision of grandfather to keep Heidi along with him so that she can be safe. After they had reached their destination, the boy took off his bag, putting it in a little hollow in the ground. So, when they reached their decided place, Peter put his bag in the hollow space in the ground so that it may not fall down. The wind often blew in violent gusts up there, and Peter did not want to lose his precious load. Then he lay down in the sunny grass, for he was very tired. Then the place where they were sitting, at that place very violent gusts, means sudden rushes of wind, was blowing there, and Peter did not want to lose his precious load. The precious load means the things which he was carrying and the responsibility of Heidi and of the goats as well. So he laid down in the sunny grass, for he was very tired. Heidi, taking off her apron, rolled it tightly together and put it beside Peter's bag. Then, sitting down beside the boy, she looked about her. So she also uh, removed her apron, which was full of flowers, and she rolled it and kept beside Peter's bag. And she also sat beside the boy, and she looked about her. Far down, she saw the glistening valley. A large field of snow rose high in front of her. So she also saw a glistening valley shining brightly, such a valley which was shining too brightly due to the presence of sunlight. So she also saw the mountains covered with snow. The peak of the mountains were covered with snow, which was in front of her. Heidi sat a long time without stirring, with Peter asleep by her side and the goats climbing about between the bushes. So Heidi was very much amazed to see the beautiful view of the valley, beautiful view of the mountains. So she continuously stared to the beautiful views, the beautiful sight, without turning her head. And this was the reason that she could not observe the goats, and the goats started climbing between the bushes in the valley, and Peter was asleep there, so he did not know where are the goats now. A light breeze fanned her cheek, and those big mountains about her made her feel happy as never before. A little very pleasing breeze fanned her cheek, and the big mountains which were there in front of her made her feel happy and relaxed. She looked up at the mountain tops till they all seemed to have faces, and soon they were familiar to her, like her old friends. Now she was continuously observing the beautiful mountains and the clouds which were there above the mountains. They all were pretending to be various shapes, they all resembled to be various shapes. So she recalled and tried to have a match of that shapes with her old friends. Suddenly she heard a loud sharp scream, and looking up she beheld the largest bird she had ever seen flying above her. And yes, this was a point of concern for Heidi, as the boy Peter was already asleep, so she was only awakened there. So she heard a loud sharp scream of the largest bird she had ever seen, the eagle, which was flying just above her. Beheld means, beheld is the past tense of behold. So she before this she never saw such a huge large bird which was flying above her. With outspread wings he flew in large circles over Heidi's head. Yes, the bird eagle was flying just above the Heidi's head with the wings outspread, and she was totally scared. She was very much afraid that the eagle might harm this girl or the sheeps. Wake up, Peter, Heidi called. Look up, Peter, and see the eagle there. So she was totally scared. She was frightened. So she hurriedly asked Peter to wake up because he was in sleep. Look up, Peter, and see the eagle there. She points her finger and tells Peter that see the eagle is there. He may harm us. He may harm the goats. Peter was wide awake, and then they both watched the bird breathlessly. Breathlessly means very anxiously, very worriedly. So they found that they both are in danger now. So they both became alert, and they watched the bird in a worried manner. It rose higher and higher into the skies till it disappeared at last behind the mountain peak. So finally, the danger was gone from them as the bird flew higher and higher into the sky and disappeared in the sky. Where has it gone? Heidi asked. Now Heidi is asking to Peter that where the bird has gone, the eagle has gone, because it has to. Peter replied. Peter replied that it has to go. Okay, this is the work usually the eagles do in to find the food. So he came here to find his food, and he has gone back to his home. Oh, does it really live way up there? Now, as Peter told Heidi that he has gone high up to the mountains, so she is asking, Heidi is asking, does it really live way up there? How wonderful that must be. But tell me, why does it scream so loud? Heidi asked. So she is also telling that it is very wonderful that eagle lives high up in the mountains. So, but why does it scream so loud? What was the reason for screaming loudly? Heidi asked anxiously. Home to its nest, was Peter's answer. Peter answered that it has gone to its home. Oh, let's climb up there and see its nest, pleaded Hedi. Now Heidi requested Peter that we should also climb up there and see its nest. But Peter, expressing a decided disapproval in his voice, answered, oh dear, not even goats could climb up there. Grandfather has told me not to let you fall down the rocks, so we can't go. So Peter is telling Heidi that we can't go up there because even the goats cannot climb up there, because they cannot leave the goats there and go to the top of the mountains. They have to take care of the goats also. So he disapproved, he disagreed, and she was not in the Peter was not in the favor of Heidi's decision to go up in the mountains to see the nest of the bird. Peter now began to call loudly and to whistle, and soon all the goats had assembled on the green field. Now, as a matter of concern, and as it was already the time was over for the grazing of the goats, so Peter now began calling the goats to assemble by whistling and also by moving his stick, which he used to hold in his hand. Hedi ran into their midst, for she loved to see them leaping and playing about. So when the goats assembled there, when the goats came there, Hedi went in the middle, in the center of the goats, and she began leaping and playing among the goats, in between the goats, while Peter, in the meantime, was preparing dinner for Heidi and himself. And Peter was busy in preparing dinner for Heidi and himself. So, children, here we are at the end of the explanation of part 3, and also we are at the end of the chapter A Day in the Greens. I hope you all have understood the all the three parts of the lesson, A Day in the Greens, which we have discussed in very detailed manner. So after this video I'll be giving you the textual worksheets, and you all should be able to answer that questions. So children, thank you for watching the video. Thank you all.